Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Good afternoon. Dr. Weissman, do you want to please do our good news report?
Yeah, absolutely. And I would actually like to invite up Megan Fisher to give some good news on our marketing team.
All right, I'm going to invite up our small but mighty marketing team too. So good afternoon, President Kelly and members of the board, and a special welcome to new member Duffy. It's great to see you here, and we look forward to working with you. My name is Megan Fisher. I'm the Vice President for Enrollment Management and Student Affairs, and I have the privilege of working closely with our marketing department, Jen and Carmen, who I'll introduce in a little bit more in detail in a bit here. But the good news today that I get the privilege of sharing with you is that Southeast Tech has been recognized nationally for our marketing efforts. Of course, we had these framed because we need to put them on our walls, right? But it's kind of a big deal. This is the biggest competition of its size for higher education institutes in the country, and it's the Educational Advertising Awards. Specifically, our awards were given for recognition of our 24-25 View Book. This is just a publication that we use as part of our recruitment funnel, and kind of shows off some of Carmen's exceptional graphic design skills in that specific recruitment book. But the bigger one that I think we're more excited about is one of the recognitions was for our integrated marketing and advertising campaign, and Jen will talk a little bit more about that in a bit. But our marketing department is small but very mighty, and they come with a lot of experience. So Carmen Landhaus, first of all, is a Southeast Tech grad from 2004. So it's great to hire and have one of our own on staff, and she does an exceptional job for us. But she graduated in 2004. She began her career at the Argus Leader when what Carmen told me, news was still hot off the press. And magazine publishing was at its peak, so she really got the chance to hone her graphic design skills at that time. And then as technology advanced and trends changed, she definitely kept pace, and she worked at carsforsale.com, and that's where she came to us from. And there she had the opportunity to work on front-end web design and application development, branding, digital marketing, brand awareness, storytelling, logo design, photo and video editing, and so much more. So we're just very fortunate to have Carmen on staff. She does a great job for us. And then Jen is our marketing and communications director, and she's been with Southeast Tech since 2019. And I would just say that Jen is super organized and super creative, which are two really important elements to have in a director for marketing and communication. And her 15 years of experience has played a pivotal role in a lot of things we've done these last few years for the college, specifically updating our name from institute to college. That meant a new logo, that meant new rebranding, new signage, and we're gonna have some exciting signs going up on campus very soon. And prior to STC, Jen spent 12 years in state government in marketing and communications, working for the Governor's Office of Economic Development under Governor's Rounds and Dugard. So again, these are a dynamic duo, and it's just really wonderful that they were recognized at a national level for the work they do for the college. So please help me recognize and congratulate them for their work.
You want to say a few words? And then I guess I would just add, from a director's perspective, that awards like this are just great for Southeast Tech. We've been working really hard, like Megan said, the last 5 or 6 years on improving our brand and our strategy and our imagery and our storytelling and all that good stuff. And it just really validates the work that we've been doing. At the same time, it builds trust with students and their families and supports enrollment. And so really win-win-win.
I guess this is where I speak, but I guess for me, as a graduate of Southeast Tech, it's just great to see the school recognized and see the enrollment numbers grow and see students come and go and see their careers flourish, and to be a part of the mission and be literally the mission is phenomenal. So, and I absolutely love to see my work all over the city and being published and people holding it. So it's been great.
That's great. You're definitely, I can tell by the excitement in your face and hear it in your voice that you're capturing the heart and the spirit and the essence and the success of Southeast. And what is there a story that you can think of that you go back to through your time, your career at Southeast, that really just gives you an awakening of your emotion that you found in your short time?
Yeah, I mean, we've done a lot of different storytelling and feature stories at alumni and students, but one that's kind of fairly recent was a student we have in nursing. Her name's Ashley Kroll, and she's a mom of 5, and she was a CNA for about 20 years and decided she was going to go back to school. And her story is just really inspirational. She didn't give up. She had, all these other outside things going on, and that's one that really kind of tugs at the heartstrings a little bit. That's a good representation too.
Gail.
Okay, I'm just very impressed with the work. Thank you very much for representing Southeast so well and putting the name out there. I'm wondering if we can get an up-close and personal look at your certificates.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. No, good. Okay. Don, Mark.
The question is, what kind of a bonus check?
Right here. No.
Yeah, I think it's great though to really to recognize people in marketing communications. I think sometimes it can be taken for granted and you're always behind the scenes, but you're really putting out such incredible creative work and great products. So thanks for all you do.
My question was if you were going to post about yourselves, making sure that this gets recognized.
Yeah.
You got to share it.
We did.
Okay, good.
When it came out. When did we do that? Maybe back in April, we did a post about it.
Okay.
Somewhere in there.
Excellent. Any more comments or thoughts? Okay. Congratulations again. Thank you. That was absolutely great news.
Thank you.
Just giving my board members a second to. Okay, do I have an approval of the minutes of our meeting held on June 18th, 2025?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Approval passes. Do we have any persons wishing to address the school board on non-agenda agenda items? All right. Do we have approval of the agenda? Gail.
I would move approval of the agenda with one amendment. I would like to amend the agenda by pulling item 12C, ST 714, tobacco-free college policy for further discussion.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The amendment to the agenda passes, and so does the approval of the agenda. Conflicts of interest. We do not have any conflicts of interest. Do we have an approval of the consent agenda items A through D?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Same sign. Approval passes. Reports of the president.
All right, thank you very much. We have 2 reports for you today. First, I just do want to start as well by welcoming Member Duffy. We're very much excited to have you on the board and looking forward to working with you. And then congratulations as well to President Kelly and Vice President Murrin as well. Obviously, we worked with you and are excited to continue to work with you in your roles as well, so thank you. We will start with an update on our Build Dakota Scholarship Program, and I am happy to welcome Kelly Rogotsky, who is our Build Dakota Coordinator.
Great. Thank you, President Klausman, and good afternoon, President Kelly and members of the board. I'm excited to be here today to visit with you about the Build Dakota program at Southeast Tech. So just a little bit about me before I get started. I came to Southeast Tech in June of 2022 and started as their career services coordinator, which worked with the industry partners for Build Dakota, and then also was a student success advisor. Then last July, I transitioned into Build Dakota for both sides of the role for the sponsors and the student side. I was working as their SSA. Prior to my time at Southeast Tech, I spent 9 years working at Junior Achievement working with the Sioux Falls and Harrisburg K through 8th grade school systems, and then did some work at 3 other colleges from admissions to community engagement, and then also a residence hall director. I wanted to start by giving you guys an overview of Build Dakota and maybe how the process works at Southeast Tech so you can have an idea of how the year flow works. As you can see, we work with businesses year round. So even though Build Dakota application period opens January 1st to March 31st, I am continuing to connect with businesses across South Dakota the entire year. This summer, there's a lot of interest, but we really hit the ground running of getting people signed up in October. And so we'll have communications, conversations with them, whether they're in person or they're on Teams phone call, to visit with them about what it means to be a Build Dakota sponsor, the impact that it has on the student, and then also the impact it has on their organization. The main push for that sign up, though, is October to December 31st. That's where industry partners will sign up intent to sponsor. This form allows them to gain access to Build Dakota Student Scholars applications. So January 1st is not only a new year, but also an exciting time for students to begin applying for that Build Dakota scholarship. January 1st to March 31st, employers get access to review those scholarship applicants and begin interviewing them. One of the unique things about Build Dakota is that those scholarships are determined by those industry partners. So those students that are 17 and 18 maybe in high school are having those first-time hard conversations and are encouraged and coached to ask the questions about what do benefits look like? What are 3 years after I graduate from Southeast Tech? What is the salary that I'm going to have as they're walking through that Build Dakota process? Once they are selected, we have signing day, which is a super exciting event that we have on campus. These are pictures from this year's signing day. We celebrated 172 scholars with 61 industry partners, and we had 2 fantastic student speakers that I really want to highlight first. In the bottom, my left side is Noah Kickhover, and he is a second-year student in the land surveying program. So he spoke about how he really went out to Banner Associates, his sponsor, and asked for Build Dakota. So he had an internship, he was proactive, and he went out and said, I'd really like Build Dakota, and they worked with him. Kayla, who's in the middle there in the blue, she is a graduate from May in our electrician program. And when you want to talk about a story that really pulls at your heart, Kayla is it. So she is a student that graduated because of Build Dakota. The first student in their family to go to college and then also graduated. Her sponsor, Muth, talked so highly of her and how they were completely impressed during that interview application process and how she's continued to just hit every single mark as an employee and a student worker. So she is a walking proof of why the Build Dakota Scholarship is important and the impact it has on students and the state of South Dakota. But once they get to signing day, they're excited to be there. They hear those stories. Then reality starts to hit that they're actually going to be a student. And there's a lot of work that comes into being a student and not just showing up. So once they get to campus, we really want them to know they have individualized, specialized support. So when they get to campus, I am all Build Dakota student success advisor. And so they will receive grade checks from me every 4 weeks, whether that's a good or bad. Maybe they need a nudge to go to the ARC for some free tutoring. Maybe they're having a bump in the road that most college students experience and they need connected to some type of service or to counseling. That's where I can help come into play for those early interventions for the holistic support that they're going to see. New students also take a Build Dakota seminar. All of our incoming students take Student Success Seminar, but this one's tailored specifically for those Build Dakota students that help incorporate some of those questions about how do I balance working for my sponsor part-time, who in a lot of those fields want them to be their full-time hours, right? But they also need to balance being a student. So how can we have those conversations, make sure that you're putting school first, even though your love is out in that field? And then also making sure that they're having aspects of like, do you need to be plugged into campus? Do you need some different resources? And then once they get all the way done, they're gonna have a graduate meeting where we talk about, now you're gonna report those 3 years. what's after you're going to be done at Southeast Tech. Cohort 10, just to recap, we had 450 applications that we received, and we awarded 159 scholarships for 59 industry partners. So that was for this last academic school year. Cohort 11 is launching for the 25-26, and we saw an increase to 499 applications, and we were able to award 172 scholarships with 61 industry partners. So we have worked really hard to make sure that we can maximize our Build Dakota budget by making sure that we can award scholars by having them 100% sponsored by an industry partner across the state, which allows us to continue to award multiple Build Dakota scholarships. These are our sponsors for Cohort 11. The one thing that I wanted to point out is you're going to see some early childhood sponsors on here. Early Childhood is a brand new Build Dakota program for Cohort 11. And so with the help of the city of Sioux Falls, we were able to help offset that $10,000 sponsorship fee to help with 8 different local daycare centers step up to sponsor 9 different students. So we have 9 Build Dakota early childhood students that will be starting in the fall this semester. So we are excited to have that program launched to help fill that demand in the city and the state. This concludes my report for Build Dakota. I'd love to answer any questions that you have.
Go ahead, Gail.
I don't have a question, but I do have a comment. With completing my first year on the board now, this was the first time that I got to go to a signing day at STC, and I want to say, wow. I mean, it was quite an impressive program. You were right about the stories, and I don't care who the student was or who the industry sponsor was. I think I had some things in my eyes that day. I don't know what was going on, but touched my heart, touched the core of my being, because it's what we're about.
Absolutely.
With getting kids, I shouldn't say kids, I'm sorry, I'm getting students aligned with their programs and with their industry sponsor is such an important thing. And I really want to reach out to all of our industry sponsors. Without them, it wouldn't happen. And so thank you very much for stepping up and making this happen for so many kids, students, sorry.
Yeah, we did enjoy the day. It was great. Could you give us, if you have the numbers in front of you, the total scholarship dollars that were granted out through the Dakota Build for this year, and then what the total has been historically around, just so we all, and anybody that's listening, can hear the magnitude of what that means?
So I can tell you for Cohort 11, that comes out of the Build Dakota Scholarship Fund, we're sitting at almost $2 million. It's about 1.94, I think it was, for just the Build Dakota side, and then the industry partner side would sit around that 1.7, 1.8 mark as well.
Yeah. And is there still the clause where the students that are Build Dakota scholars stay in South Dakota for 5 years?
They stay in the state for 3 years post-graduation, so they will work with their industry partner for those 3 years after graduation. So it helps them. You'll hear a lot of them say they're relieved because they have a job. So maybe other people are looking for jobs in fields, which we know at Southeast Tech, they're high demand jobs, so they're going to find one. But they have a little bit less pressure because they've been working with that sponsor for a year or two, depending on their program, and already start to feel like they're part of their family. So they've learned the basic ropes of that organization, whether their organization is here or in Rapid City and they're working for them during the summer or over Christmas breaks, but they're starting to figure out what it means to be an employee for them. So they really start to hit the ground running day one when they graduate.
Yeah, thank you. Any other questions, comments?
Quick comment, one of my mentees was one of the first early childhood recipients.
Awesome.
And I was with her on the day she got an email from her sponsor. And it was a very emotional day because she's been through foster care. She's had a lifelong history of having setbacks.
Mm-hmm.
And this was a really big win for her and her future family, whatever that looks like. But she loves kids so much, and she's going to just be a wonderful addition to that program. And I can definitely connect you guys because she's going to give great testimony.
That's
so
awesome.
good. She's loving it so far, so appreciate all you do. Thank you for being their guiding light through this journey, because a lot of them, this is their first go.
It is, it's different. And I just yesterday, a student came in with her parent, and she is a first generation student, and the mom was like, came in to confirm, there's no strings attached, right? This is really a full ride. Like, we're not going to get a tuition bill. And so we walked through everything again. It's the 3-year commitment. As long as you stay on track at that 2.5 GPA, graduate, work in your field with your sponsor, then yeah, you really do not pay it back. But she wanted to make sure they weren't going to get some random bill come August for $2,000 and not be able to pay that. And so she was like, I can't believe this is really happening. And her mom cried in my office, and then her daughter was like, you're embarrassing me. Right? I was like, that's okay. Like, we're happy you're here. So it's been a fun experience the last 2 years at Southeast Tech to get to work with these students and really see their lives change.
Excellent. Yes. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for your update. Corey, go ahead.
Do you want to acknowledge that report as well before we move on?
It is a report. Yes, we would like to acknowledge that
Double check.
report. Thank you. We would love to. Do I have a motion to acknowledge the report?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same side? It is passed.
All right, and then our second report is keeping with our monthly theme of updating you on our budget and how our financials are looking throughout the course of the fiscal year. So I'd like to invite up our VP of Finance, Christine Goldsmith, for hopefully a few slides that you are getting familiar with, and that Member Duffy, you will get familiar with as well here soon.
Oh, good, IT guys here. Yeah, thank goodness. Okay, all right. Here we go. All right, so here we are in July. July is always the start of a new year, start of fresh new things, especially in higher education finance. However, we are still looking at numbers for the year that just ended. And so these totals are reflecting 92% of your year completed, so not quite all the way through. There's that little bit of lag I was mentioning as the record keeping keeps up with some of the world as goes on. So we'll look a little bit back at this point, 92% of the year completed at the end of May, which was the Rainbow Report that these are based on. The college had 29.6 million of monies that had come in. If you look at the circle chart there, not quite half was through tuition and fees. We like to see that a little less than half on the students' side of that. State funds are right about a third. Federal funds at 2%. Auxiliary sales are holding steady at 10%. That's a good place, and you'll probably see this type of pattern continue. We'll have another good month on the year that's just finishing that we'll talk about next time, and we'll probably see a big bump come through. The summer tuition isn't included in here, and so there's still a little bit of things that'll happen there for some state monies and tuition and such, but 29.6. So if you remember me talking about burn rate, by the time we got to the end of this month, you had spent 31.3 monies going out. So you can see the little red arrow. So this is where it's really good to have fund balance, or also known as savings, there in your back pocket to kind of get us through some of those. There's this natural life cycle of higher education where you get a few big bumps of a lot of money that comes in on the tuition and fees, and we use that to coast through some of these other months as we go. So 1.7 on net outflow doesn't get me too concerned, because again, I'm looking forward at things that'll catch up on the records and feeling pretty good about how you'll end the year overall. On the functional side of expenses, you're spending the majority of your expenses on instructional services. That's an awesome thing for colleges to spend the majority of their money there. A little over a third on the support services for those of us that aren't teaching academics, and facilities holding steady right around that 10%. That's a good place for facilities to be in the big scheme of things, no matter what college you are. So that was awesome. This next slide is the budget comparison, rounding off. So You're only seeing a difference of about $500,000 from the last time I was here, so a lot of these look very similar. Most of the difference is coming in under the federal funds side. Some of those federal awards, mostly Perkins, that's coming through. We're catching up and finishing with a lot of those reimbursement paperworks, and as that passes through, that'll get real close there to the end. A little bit more on the local funds, and auxiliary sales had a little bit more also, and then interest. So again, $500,000, not a huge difference. Next month, you'll see a big change in your tuition, and I'm hoping that'll get you closer to that 100% on the budget of tuition and fees, so should be right there. So overall, 79% of the revenues that you had budgeted, you've seen in actual so far. Again, as we're 92% of the year, I'd like to see that a little bit closer. We've already started looking internally at some changes and efficiencies we can make to start to speed up some of those reimbursements, especially on the grant side. So we'll see some of those things take place over the next year. On the expense side, you'll see 84%, 87%, 71%. So grouping those together, those are all nicely under 92%. So again, from big picture perspective, you're happy if your expenses are staying below where you're at year to date. I do feel like there's some permanent savings in here on the instructional and the support side for some of those positions that were a little slower to fill. And so that catches up at some point, and there's probably some savings. If you recall your budget from the beginning of the year, you were anticipating using some savings to get through. Things like lower expenses will really prevent that from having to go that direction, and your fund balance and your savings will be the income. It's not really income, but it'll be that funding source of last resort. So we'll go to look at that if everything doesn't balance. That's another reason on the other category for your revenues, you'll see 40%. That feels like, darn it, that's so low, but there's about 800,000 plus that's in that other category. That was your fund balance or your savings to bring in. And like I said, we'll turn to that at the last resort, and if you balance on your actuals before then, we won't utilize that. We'll keep it where it's at. So actually that one staying low on the revenue side is kind of a pleasant thing to see. Let's see, this is, when I'm showing you those expenses with the groupings here, that's on the functional side. This worksheet is capturing that same info on the natural category. So these are iPad phrases we use. We like to slice and dice. So instead of looking at things just by instructional or academic and non-academic, this is more on those natural categories: supplies, payroll, fuel, insurance. So these are categories you'll be familiar with also for different types of organizations. So this is another way to look at it, not to round it off. I will also run this and take a look at the year-to-date percentages. So that's another place for me to see if our budget predictions are where I am anticipating they would be. As we get closer to the end of the year, you'll see a few of these that are popping up that are already 100%. Not super unusual. Budgeting is definitely an acquired skill over time. This one I did inherit, so I'll mention that too as we finish off through the year. But as I looked through these, this felt very typical of other types of colleges as they get closer to the end of their year. And we'll fine tune as we see how some of these budgets come together. Yeah. So those are your revenues and expenses. This last slide really talks about the fund balance or the savings that the college has on hand. These, oops, there's a weird, what did I do? There we go. This has dropped, and again, if you recall from that first slide, we're dipping into fund balance to get through the month, so you'll notice that that is where your fund balance did drop on this compared to a prior year. But in other years, this is a time of year where that tends to happen already. So your fund balance tends to go down, and then it picks it up again here going into the end of the year. So it was nice to see this pattern repeated. Again, this is a little bit more than prior years because it feels like a lot of that growth and expansion the college had, we finally had caught up with the reimbursements. And this is probably a little bit more when you're not actively expanding and adding buildings where you would see that fund balance be, but it is also there to fund growth, so. I have one more new slide that I'd like to just spend a couple of minutes introducing you to. It is a little hard to read on there with the white font. I'm going to have to change that next time. It's something I like to go over annually with boards, just to give you a bigger picture perspective of these financials. The HLC, or the Higher Learning Commission, that's something that colleges all over the nation are involved with. It's really important, big deal to us. And colleges of all different sizes are part of that HLC analysis. And it can get tough to compare a small college to a medium-sized college to a bigger college. And they have an analysis they refer to as the Total Composite Financial Index, and it's a way to compare us all. Even with all the differences and changes that we have, they have a standard format that we all utilize from our audited financial statement to enter information, and that results in this CFI. HLC then further defines out of a scale for their financial index, a scale of actually -4 up to 10 is the maximum points that any college can have. Their version of in the zone, or the happy place on that scale, is 1.1 and above. The Southeast Tech has had, in the last 3 years, scores ranging from 2.7, and it appears to be growing to almost 4.5. And so, again, kind of interesting to see that, and that gives you a good point of comparison that you could compare the financial strength of this college with any other college in the nation, if that's interesting. So it's a nice comparison there. The ratios are basically telling folks, is the college living within its means? And are you able to finance your projects or your growth? And you've probably seen organizations before, they grow so fast and that can get ahead of you. And those are things that HLC is interested in watching. If you have scores that aren't in the zone, HLC will be very interested in that. They'll probably send you a letter. Yep. He's smiling. And they'll ask you a little bit more. If you don't get in the zone with a little bit of effort, I think they even want to come visit maybe and talk a little more. But those are patterns they've seen in colleges that ultimately close, and nobody's interested in that. So this is that point of comparison. So I thought you might be intrigued to see that. It's the kind of thing I like to bring up about once a year and let you see where it's heading. And a lot of these financial decisions and times we use money and where we put money, that has a result here and goes to that larger national organization. Do you have any questions or anything I can answer now?
Do you mind if I add something to this slide really quickly here? So I serve as a peer reviewer for the Higher Learning Commission as well. So having visited many different colleges and senior scores over time, I will tell you that it's pretty common to see institutions like in a 1.5 to like 4 range or so. It's fairly unusual to see anybody above a 5. It happens, but most that are in a kind of a good category are below 5. So the fact that we're sitting at almost a 4.6 says a lot about a good financial strength of the institution right now. So that's a very solid spot to be in, and one that I think most institutions would be pretty envious of. So just to put that into context.
Dr. Kleisman, I'm glad you brought that up, in that I had the question of what is the differentiator? Is it a large endowment that if somebody were to be at the 8 or the 7 or some number that's kind of outside of the average, what's the differentiators?
You kind of know some of the math.
It's
cash
always
on hand.
cash. It's cash.
So they do look at the endowment.
Sitting
of
on cash that is not promised. So, but you go, you know, it depends on what, if you're trying to achieve a certain score. I mean, you can manipulate the number, or you can work the numbers and have cash on hand, but we're part of a public system. When you have a lot of cash on hand, did you do right by your students? Did you charge them right? So I think just the score itself isn't always quite enough, but cash does it.
And I think that's a good point, where as a peer reviewer, if you come into an institution that's sitting at like a 9 or 10 and sitting on all of that cash, then one of the logical questions is, are you really funding the right student success initiatives and putting some of that money back into the system? So I think there is a sweet spot that I think it'd be dangerous in some ways to be sitting at a 9 or 10. To Christine's point, are you actually funding what you should be funding as well? So you don't want to be too low, but I would argue you may not really want to be too high either. So I think we're kind of in a nice sweet spot with this.
Good. Anybody, Gail?
I want to thank you for your explanation here, because I looked and looked and looked and looked at this chart, and I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to ask her to explain it to me like I'm a fifth grader, because
Oh, no.
I didn't know what it was measuring. I mean, I got the numbers and I got the weighted percents and but I didn't know what it was measuring. So when you said the financial health,
Yeah.
I went, okay, that makes sense now, because I just couldn't figure out what it was measuring. So thank you very much for that explanation.
You bet.
Now this makes way more sense to me.
Yeah. It made me smile too when I took a look at it. As a new finance person, yes. Place to be.
Well, in one piece, you mentioned institutional services being a key part of Southeast, and we would be remiss not to acknowledge and congratulate Dr. Phoenicia Holman for being selected as the VP of Academic Affairs at Southeast. Congratulations, Corey and the entire team and the students on that position being filled.
I think it's just safe to say that that might be the most popular decision I ever make in my entire tenure here at the Institute. She was the overwhelming choice of all stakeholder groups. So people are quite excited to have her back. She's very highly respected, both here and across the state. So we're excited.
Well, it sounds like you're intuitive and insightful, Dr. Kleisman. Congratulations. Okay, let's see, do we need to, which I think we do, acknowledge the report of the VP of Finance? Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Same sign. Okay, the report acknowledgement passes. We will now move on to agenda item 11, review revise the Sioux Falls School District Southeast Technical College policies and regulations. 11, let's see, can we take those all together, or do we want to take them one by one?
Either way, you can do it either way. So I can give a little bit of context and background here as well.
Okay.
So all of these in both 11 and 12, we have a policy committee as a college where we review these, and we have a regular cycle that we're going through to review all of our policies. So A through F, review and revise, means that they've had some revisions, but really these are minor. They don't change any of the context or the significance of the wording. It tends to be grammatical or updating pronouns to be gender neutral as well. So Carly Ryder, when she was on the board, was the board representative to the policy committee, so she sat in on this meeting. So as you look at new committee assignments, we'll be looking for one of you to join that committee as well. So all these are just minor changes where the significance or the meaning of the policy wasn't changed at all.
Excellent. Do I have a motion to approve the policies and regulations?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
Yes, I've got to remember here. I had a question on the taxing and borrowing one. There was a dollar amount, was it 10 million?
Yes.
Is that right? Okay.
I can't remember which one it was.
I think that's right. I think I just saw you scroll past.
Did I just scroll past it?
Just
So there was no dollar amount before.
right there, yeah.
Okay. So bids for anything that exceeds 10 million, is that in compliance with the law?
Yes.
Okay.
That's the reason and purpose of it.
That's what I assumed, but I wanted to double check.
Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor? Say aye. Opposed, same sign? All right, that agenda item passes. We now have the first reading of the Sioux Falls School District policies and regulations, item 12, and we are looking at A and B. Corey, do you want to introduce?
Yeah, Jim is here. Jim Larson is here. Jim is our compliance coordinator and compliance officer and Title IX coordinator. Did I get that right?
You got it right.
I get it wrong every single time. Who can provide additional context on both of these as well.
Thank you, President Glassman. Hello, President Kelly. The first one is probably going to be the one that we are going to talk about the most, and that's weapons on campus. In the last state legislation, they passed a new law, SDCL 13-3943 and 44, where it said anyone working under the Board of Tech Ed could not restrict concealed carry of pistols, cannot restrict stun guns as defined by state law. It cannot restrict pepper spray, mace, or chemical agents as defined by state law. In 1339A44, it does have restrictions where certain areas on campus, we can still restrict them, but as a general rule, campus-wide, we cannot. Since that has been passed, the Board of Tech Ed has worked with all the technical colleges across the state to try to come up with a similar policy. That way, all technical colleges are representing and saying the same things, and this is the policy that we've come up with.
And do you want to talk about drug-free workforce one as well?
Yep. Drug-free workforce, it's not a big change in what we're doing. It's more of just to get updated with everything, especially with the marijuana, the different types of marijuana, different drugs, that types of items that we got into. We also added alcohol to this. Currently, Southeast Tech does have an alcohol policy, alcohol-free policy, and at the second reading, if this is passed, we will ask for a withdrawal of that policy. But we thought as a committee that drugs and alcohol kind of should be phrased the same and work the same because we're doing the same thing for both.
Jim, I'm going to ask you just to stay there because there may be, yes, there may be some discussion or questions, but before we take those, we're going to ask for a motion and then move to a discussion. So we have something to discuss. Oh, okay.
Absolutely.
So we'll take these one by one, all right? Do I have a motion to approve the first reading of item 12A, weapons on campus?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Discussion.
Well, when I read through that policy, does that give you the power or you to make certain areas and designate no exceptions? Yes, there are certain areas of the campus. I've already been through campus along with our security. We have made a list of different rooms. Probably one of the simplest ones and most obvious is welding because of all the gases. We also have a number of other different rooms, but not a lot of rooms. Most of them are because of different material that program uses, which would not go well with either firearm, mace, or stun gun.
And they will have a sign outside of them as well saying that it's restricted.
You're going to post it?
Yep.
I just wondered how you came up with the list. Currently, we're working with, again, Board of Tech Ed, so we're getting the same message by what that signage will exactly say or display.
And what, I'll add to that, what rooms it is that we can restrict is outlined in state law as well.
I read that there too. I didn't understand how you come up with what you're going to do. All right, thank you.
Good question. Any other discussion?
I just have a question. Is there anything under state law that you can restrict that you didn't?
In this policy, we're restricting every known weapon as defined by state law, and except for a concealed pistol. And pistol has its own definition in state law, concealed has its own definition in state law. And otherwise, other than that, we have all weapons.
Okay, so it's just in line with what the state law requires?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Okay, we are now going to vote on the first reading of the Southeast Tech 504 Weapons on Campus. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. This passes. We will now move on to B. Do I have a motion to approve the drug-free workplace item let's see, is that 7:11? 7:11, and then we will move into discussion.
So move.
Discussion. Okay, hearing no discussion, we'll move into vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. This passes. Anything else for the good of the whole? Jim, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your explanation and your attention to the detail that it takes to implement these sorts of policies.
Not a problem. Looking forward to one of you joining us in the committees.
Excellent. Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are now adjourned.